Isaiah chapter 43, verses 16 through 21. This is what God says: the God who builds a road right through the ocean, who carves a path through pounding waves, the God who summons horses and chariots and armies. They lie down and then can't get up. They're snuffed out like so many candles.
Forget about what's happened. Don't keep going over old history. Be alert. Be present. I'm about to do something brand new. It's bursting out. Don't you see it? There it is. I'm making a road through the desert, rivers, and badlands.
Because I provided water in the desert, rivers through the sun-baked earth, drinking water for the people I chose.
The people I made especially for myself. A people custom made to praise me.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I would like to give a special welcome to those online, and Bradley, thank you for leading so well. You've been committed to this for like 3.5 years out there in California, and I really appreciate you, and I want to welcome everyone who is here in service. I'm going to say that this service looks a lot better than the last service because probably Chelsea's here, so my wife is here, but no, welcome. Like Pastor Eric said, my name is AG. Can we give it up one more time for that next generation that was up here dancing and worshiping? One thing that our church does so well is invest in the next generation. That's something that's my heart beats for that, right? That's something that I've always been drawn to is student ministry, and I just love our team here at Shoreline. Everything about today, from the LED lights behind me that say back to school, to the giant pencil archway, the environments that we're creating, these irresistible environments. Can we give it up for our teams that make Sundays go? It's what makes Shoreline. And Shoreline could not be Shoreline without two people I'm going to give honor to right now. And that's Pastors Eric and Darlene. These are my pastors, and we've walked through so much life. And I know many of you walked through life with them as well. And we are in the middle of our year-long series, Look What God Can Do, right? And look what God can do. We are 20 years deep into being a church. 20 years this year that these two have led in our city, in our community. Their hearts have bled for our city. We are so entwined in the culture of Destin when it comes to Grub Club, when it comes to church at Crab Island, when it comes to all the people who are at the harbor day in, day out and know who our church is. It's because our pastors have led so well for the past 20 years. And with that, I'm pretty sure that this year, in 2025, is another special event that happened, which is a 40-year anniversary for those two lovebirds. I've got some pictures of them up here from when they got married out at Crab Island. And there's a couple more. There they are doing some kissy faces, right? So some smiley faces, and the next one some kissy faces. But I wanted to give honor to them, and I wanted to make sure that they know that they are loved and that we honor their legacy. Right? And legacy here at Shoreline, we define legacy as honoring the past, living for today, and building for the future. And they have shown time and time again what legacy looks like. So, welcome to Shoreline Church. I am the online pastor here at Shoreline, but I also am a student pastor in Buffalo, New York. So there's a picture of some of my students with me up there. And when I tell you the next generation, like that is what I breathe. That's what I wake up for. It's what I dream about, is how we can help reach that next generation, right? And we say that in the race for the hearts of the next generation, the person who gets there first is the person who wins. And we here at Shoreline are trying to win that race every single day. And here on Back to School Sunday, we're going to win that race. We're going to win it together. If you have any desire, if you even think, like, you know what, I look at pictures like this and I see students and I think, hey, I want to pour into these students' lives. Or, hey, my student needs to be plugged in and get into community that's going to build them up for what they're supposed to become. I encourage you, get your student signed up for Tribe. I encourage you, get your student signed up for Club 139. I'm encouraging you as a leader, step into a role, because I'm going to tell you something that's really cool about the next generation. You go into it thinking you're going to pour into those students' lives, but in reality, they pour into your life so much more. Watching that growth, watching that faith grow, that seed that you get to help water, it just grows your own faith also. So if you can go into the Shoreline app, get the connection card, fill it out, and I want you to know that you have a place, whether it's students, whether it's serving on the production team, whether it's serving on the host team, whatever it is, you have a place because you belong here. You belong here, and we believe that. And speaking of belonging, this is the family that I belong to. This is my family. My beautiful wife, Chelsea, Jayana, who when we first started coming to Shoreline was 7 years old. Y'all, she is 16 now. She is driving. So if you see a GMC Yukon coming down, get out of the way. Run away as fast as you can. And then we got Ayla, our 8-year-old, Kaleo, our 4-year-old, and then Coast, who just turned 1 2 weeks ago. So yeah, Coast gets the ahs. So when we talk about new seasons, right? We talk about new seasons and we're talking about going back to school. Something I think about, my favorite season, right, is coming in 2 weeks. And it's football season. Let's go. So, and when I think of football season, right, so I'm originally from Salt Lake City. So I am Pac-12 by nature, but Pac-12 is gone, right? So I'm a Big 12 guy now. The Utah Utes are the best team in the country. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you have to say about that. I know we've gone from conference to conference. I know I'm in SEC country now, and it means more down here. I get it, I know. But I'm telling you right now, the Utes are coming, okay? The Utes are coming. I know we're talking about legacy today. And when I'm talking about legacy, I know we have teams here or fans here who have a legacy of almost making the college football playoffs with Florida State fans, right? So, and I know we have a legacy of too many championships to count with Alabama, which we're not even going to talk about that. But I actually saw a jersey during first service, which was really funny because I didn't even know that this school still had a football team. It's news to me that they do. I'm talking about one of their players here in a second, a linebacker from back in the early 2000s when they did have a football team. But the University of Miami, I don't know if you guys know, but they still have a football team, right? And so I've got a picture up here of Ray Lewis, right? And so Ray Lewis, back in the day, so that is my brother's absolute favorite football player. He's the one who inspired him to become a middle linebacker and go to college playing middle linebacker. And I'm a quarterback by trade, so we're kind of opposite when it comes to that, but that's okay. We used to play, who here, so I hear a lot of football fans out there, like you guys remember Madden, right? Like the Madden game, right? So Madden 2013, it had one of the best opening speeches for a game I've ever heard in my life. Right after that iconic EA Sports, it's in the game. It goes in, and it goes into this speech by Ray Lewis, and it says, I will live long after, I'm going to use my best Ray Lewis impressions. You guys ready online? Here we go. I will live long after my records are broken, long after my rings have tarnished. Whatever you got to do, make sure you chase after your legacy every second of your life. How will you be remembered? Why wouldn't you fight for the greatest achievement ever? Leave your mark. Leave your mark. Right after that is normally when I would lay the smack down on my brother in Madden. But today, my question is, how will you be remembered? How will you be remembered? And you might be here today like, not a football fan and all, like, dude, this dude has been up here for 10 minutes, and all he's done is talk about football. Can we get to something else, please? I promise it's coming. Buckle up, because here we go. We're going to talk about legacy. Legacy. So, I was at a marriage retreat about 18 months ago right here in Florida, and I sat across a dinner table from one of my mentors, and she asked me this question. We were eating steak, by the way, which, in case you're wondering, my favorite food in the world is steak. And so we're eating steak, and she asked me this question. She says, what do you want your epitaph to say? How many of you are as confused as I was, like, what in the world is an epitaph? I don't know what an epitaph is. Well, I'm going to tell you. An epitaph is simply the inscription on your tombstone. That's what your epitaph is, right? So what the question was, some light dinner talk, right? Like, what do you want? I'm chewing on steak. Like, bro, I was not ready for this one, so I tried to chew a little bit longer so I didn't have to answer. I had to think about it, chew on it, if you will. And so I sat there and I was like, man, what do I want my epitaph to say? So in Acts 13:36, we see what Luke would have put on King David, who we just finished a series all about King David, and what his epitaph would say. He says, now when David had served God's purpose in his own generation, he fell asleep. And I'm sitting there like mid-bite, like chewing on this steak, right? Like, like, what am I thinking about legacy for? Legacy's for like grandparents and old people. It's not for me. I'm 33 years old. What do I know about legacy? But the more I thought about it, the more it kind of just wrecked me. Like, what are they going to say after I'm gone? It's not going to be about my titles or my accomplishments or how much money I made or how many people liked me. It's going to be about what impact do we have? What impact do we have? And the truth is that legacy is not automatic. It's built intentionally. And my question is, will your life point towards something eternal or just something temporary? Now, again, this topic hits all of us. I know some saying like, that's only for grandparents. Or maybe you're here today or watching online for the first time in a while, and you're like, this dude's up here talking about legacy. I barely put my pants on today, guys. What do you mean legacy? Bro, I forgot to pack my kids' lunch for camp, and you're talking about legacy? So I've got a story for you guys, because I believe, like, if I can leave a legacy, and after you hear this story, and that people trust me to lead their students, after you hear this story, you're gonna be like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it too. So I'm gonna set the scene. I showed you guys a picture of my family earlier, right? So my family, we've got a 1-year-old, and about 6 months ago, he was 6 months old. 6 months. That was just the other day, but little Coast, right? So Coast, 6 months old. We're getting into we're into like the crux of our new infant phase, right? We're going through, and Sunday mornings. This is Sunday morning. We're getting ready to go to church. And you know what I normally do on Sunday mornings when we're getting ready to go to church? I get the 4-year-old ready, because that's my speed. He can put his own pants on. He can put his own shoes on. All I got to do is like, hey, did you brush your teeth? Let's get your hair done real quick. Let's go get in the car. That's all I have to do, right? And my daughter, Jay, she takes care of the 8-year-old and is like, hey, let's get the girls ready, let's get the hair done, all those things. So this particular Sunday is the first Sunday that Chelsea is back serving in the nursery. Okay, so she leaves a little bit earlier than me. And I'm like, cool, I just got to get these kids in the car, got to go to church. She's already there waiting on us. Everything's good. So I go and I get all the kids ready, and I go get in the car, and I realize I forgot my phone, right? So, oh man, let me go back inside, grab my phone. I got to go get my phone because can't leave the house without my phone, right? So grab my phone, driving down the road, and we are cruising, listening to worship music, pull up to church, and we all get out, go up to the check-in counter, and we go to check in Kaleo to kids' church, Ayla to kids' church, and the check-in lady says, oh, no Coast today? Y'all, the way that my heart dropped in that moment, I had left my 6-month-old baby boy in the crib at home, right? So I get back in the car, I'm zipping back down the street. I'm going at least 100 miles an hour, like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Where's my son? Oh no, and I had not told Chelsea yet. She didn't know. So I actually got a text on my way after I had got, so when I get there, he's in his crib, everything's fine, no worries, he was just sleeping, he didn't even know I left him, so we're good. So get him back in the car, because I knew I forgot something. I thought it was my phone, but it was my kid. So so I get back in the car, and I'm driving back, my wife texts me like, hey, where are you? I was like, I'm on my way. Because who knows that bad news does not go well over text, right? She said, did you forget something? I said, yep. And I pulled back up, dropped him off at the nursery to her, and then went into service. And I was like, yep, we're not going to talk about it till later. So just so you guys know, I'm telling you right now, if I believe that I can leave a legacy and I forget my kid, you can leave a legacy also. Because the deal is you're already leaving one. Hopefully not a kid, but a legacy. You're already leaving one. The question is, what is it? What is your legacy? Because that moment for me, I realized that it's not about being hyper spiritual or hyper organized or having it all together. It's legacies for the real ones. Legacies for parents. Legacy is for those who are single or even recently divorced. Legacy is for those retirees, new believers, people who are just trying to survive. Hey, I just got online. I'm checking this place out. Legacy is for you, I promise. We're going to look at a couple of scriptures here today about some people who left their legacy. And the first one we're going to talk about is going to be Ruth. Okay, so I'm going to set the scene for Ruth, right? So Ruth is a Moabite, right? So which Moab was a nation near Israel. It wasn't part of Israel, but they were near Israel. And so she was married to Naomi's son. So this Naomi was also was from Israel, but they had moved into Moab for work. And so she was married to one of his sons. And she had a sister-in-law, Orpah, who was also married to one of Naomi's sons, right? So you have these three women who were all married. And ends up that all of them died. So if your name is Ruth, I'm sorry, I'm running. I'm not going to be anywhere near Ruth because it seems like every single person who marries a Ruth in this story is gone. So, but that's the scene of what Ruth went through. So she had every reason to play it safe. After her husband passed away, and her sister's husband passed away, and her mother-in-law's husband all passed away, she had every reason to stay in Moab, where she's from. That's where she was from. And her mother-in-law said, hey, you can stay here with your people. I'm going to go back because I have relatives in Judah. So that's kind of what the scene that we're going to pick up right here. And so she had lost her husband. She had no sons. And so having no sons in that time, basically a woman's worth was measured by whether or not they had produced heirs or they had produced a legacy at that time. So somebody who could carry on that family name. And right now she had not done that. So the mother-in-law was like, hey, stay here, marry somebody new. This is what you know. I don't want to take you back with me. I'm going to go back because I have relatives in Judah. So in Ruth chapter 1, verse 8, it says, but on the way, Naomi said to her two daughters, go back to your mother's homes. And may the Lord reward you for your kindness to your husbands and to me. She's saying, stay with your family. There's nothing for you out here. May the Lord bless you with the security of another marriage. And then she kissed them goodbye, and they all broke down and wept. And in verse 14, it goes on to say, again they wept together. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye. So Orpah, not Oprah, but Orpah, she decided to stay. She decided that she was going to stay in Moab. But Ruth clung tightly to Naomi. She said, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. You should do the same. And this is how Ruth sounds in my head. She's like from the Bronx or something. But she's like, don't ask me to leave you and turn back. Wherever you go, I'ma go. Wherever you live, I'ma live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Ruth is doing something here. If you're taking notes, number one, legacy is a choice. She chose to stay with her mother-in-law and go back to Judah when Orpah chose to go back to her gods and to her land. She made a bold legacy-building choice here when she said, where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Boom. In that moment, not when she had kids later, not when she got married later, not later, but in that moment, right then, that choice, she started to build her legacy. Our legacy is built in mundane, daily choices. Legacy is not chosen in comfort. You can stay in the land that you're from. You can stay where you're at, or you can go and choose God's way. Some of us think that legacy is this like distant, mystical future thing, right? But it's made in the choices that you start today. who you choose to forgive, what you choose to prioritize, how you choose to serve. Whether you say yes to God, even when it's easier to do it your own way. And Ruth didn't make just one epic decision and then coast the rest of the way. No, she continued day after day to make decisions to leave a legacy. She chose to follow through. She humbled herself and she got a job basically at DoorDash, right? So what she did is she went into the fields in Judah and she started collecting grain, leftover grain after they had harvested the crop. And so in this time, the outer edges were always left for the poor people. So that was just part of the customs of the day, was that the outer rims were always left for the poor people. And so day after day, Ruth chose to show up with her DoorDash bag and gather all of the leftover grain day after day. She chose to get up. She chose to go out there. She chose to gather that grain. Not just one time checking a box. Not when, we have a serve day every year in July. Not just showing, hey, I served on serve day. Check that box for the year. I'm good. I've done it. I've served. Wait till next year in July again. I'll serve again. Right? But showing up day after day and saying, I'm here. Kind of like what Elijah said when he was or Samuel said, I'm here, Lord. I'm here, Lord. Showing up day after day after day. Because point number 2, legacy is built daily in the choices that we make. When Ruth chose to wake up and to go and to get the leftover grain, right, for where the poor people get their grain from, she chose to do that every single day. She was working out in that field when a man named Boaz saw her. A man named Boaz saw her. And he saw her character, invited her to work right behind his plow instead of on the outer rim. So she was invited to come and gather better grains for her, because she was taking this grain back to her mother-in-law, who she chose to follow back to this land. Right? So she was day after day showing up to provide for her family. In chapter 2, verse 10, it goes on to say, at this, when Boaz asked her to follow right behind his plow, at this, she bowed down with her face to the ground. She asked him, why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner? Boaz replied, and this is huge right here. He replied, I've been told, meaning that her reputation had gone before her because she chose daily to show up again and again and again. I've been told about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Ruth was not trying to be famous. She was not trying to be flashy. She was just being faithful with what God had placed before her. She was being faithful with what she had. In the daily yes. What does our daily yes look like today? What does your daily yes look like today? Let's be real. Showing up for your kids, that's legacy. Day in and day out, saying, I'm not looking at Chelsea right now, saying I'm sorry first, that's legacy. Not posting that clap back on Facebook or Instagram, or I work with students, so TikTok and on the Reels, not posting that clap back, unless it's about the Chiefs, because God understands that. No one likes the Chiefs. That's legacy. Choosing to put others first, that's legacy. If you guys saw today during worship, Annabelle was dancing right here in this spot. And I remember a story from her parents, a story from when they first started attending Shoreline back when we were in the theater. And they would sneak in after worship because they thought worship was weird. So they would sneak into the back row after worship was over. And they have become some of the greatest worshipers I've ever seen. And their daughter was right here in this spot worshiping for the whole church to follow along with. That is legacy. That's what legacy looks like. I have another story about my other son. And so Kaleo, who was actually, Kaleo means called by God, which is a whole other story for another time. But Kaleo, we have a tradition in my family, right? Every Saturday, especially football Saturdays, but every Saturday, we wake up, so in his room, there's a picture frame that says, donuts, car wash, haircut. And we do this every single Saturday. Every Saturday, it's just a tradition that we do. It's a legacy that we have, but it's going to continue forever. And then when we're done with that, we go home and we listen to worship music and clean the house before college game day kicks off, right? But that is our every single day, every single Saturday we do that. And one of the worship songs, so I'm going to get to that in a minute, because one time we were in the car, we went to like a field. Chelsea was with Kaleo, and he plucked a dandelion. Right, he plucked a dandelion, and we had kind of a long drive back. So he was in the car with this dandelion, and it started to wilt, right? Because it was plucked, it was out of the ground, and it started to wilt. And Chelsea says, Kaleo, we're going to have to throw it away at the next stop that we get to. And why, Mom? Why do we need to throw it away? She said, because it's dying, because it's going to be dead. And he said, no, Mommy, don't you know that dead things come alive? Dead things come alive. And that comes from a worship song, dead things come alive in the name of Jesus. And that is legacy. Our son, unbeknownst to us, has now put that, like that is in his soul. Like, hey, no, dead things come alive. And he knows that because legacy is built daily through commitment. So what's yours saying? What's your legacy saying? And are you being faithful to it? Because if you're taking notes, number 3, legacy is an act of faith. Oh no, not the F word. AG saying the F word in church, faith, not faith. Like you might be watching online like, man, that's why I don't go to church. That's why I'm not in there, because you guys keep talking about this faith thing. I don't understand what faith is. Legacy is an act of faith. I'm going to give you a biblical example of what faith looks like, okay? But first, I want to set the scene kind of in modern times, right? Let's imagine, we don't actually have to imagine this because we do it, but let's go to church at Crab Island, right? So we're at church at Crab Island, and we have one reef burger and one fry, right? And somehow, all of us get fed by that, and we have leftovers, okay? Somehow that happens. We have leftovers, we're all fed, we're full, we're good to go, and then I invite you to come with me on a night cruise across the bay to Shalimar. Don't know why, but you guys are like, yeah, let's go, we're gonna do it, yay. And so cool, we go to Shalimar, right? And we're going across, and let's say it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, okay? Because we're on a night cruise, hanging out, and the storm comes along. This storm comes along, and then we look out and we see this shadowy figure walking across the water. Like the shadowy figure, right? I'm going to pick that up right here in Matthew chapter 14, verse 24 through 26. It says, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and cried out in fear. So again, let's set the scene. Like, think about us going across the bay. Think about us going across the bay. First of all, I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm seeing some shadowy figure walking across, y'all know Shark Tank, right? And for that, I'm out. Like, I'm good. I'll pass on that one. I'm going to get my life jacket. I'm going to go in the bottom of the boat. I'm going to just hang out and wait to see what happens. Because a shadowy figure walking at 3 a.m., like, I don't like scary movies. I don't know if any of you guys like scary movies. I do not like scary movies. This sounds like a scene directly out of a scary movie. And I feel like we as a modern church kind of just glaze over this. Like Jesus was walking on water. Walking on water. Not me. But 27, but Jesus spoke to them at once. Don't be afraid. Take courage. I am here. And then Peter called to him. Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on, y'all, Peter's crazy. Peter's crazy. Think about that for a minute. Like, hey, like if it's you, tell me to come and walk to you, come and walk on water, right? And there's only been 2 people in the history of the world. And if you're an Alabama fan, I know you think there's 3 because I know you guys think Nick Saban walks on water. But there's only been 2 in the history of the world that walk on water, and Peter is one of them. And it says, so Peter went over the side of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. But he saw the strong wind and waves, and he was terrified, and he began to sink. Save me, Lord, he shouted. So let's talk about my boy Peter real quick. He gets a bad rap. I think Peter gets a bad rap because he does sink, right? He does sink. He oh, you of little faith, right? So like you think that is who Peter is. But let's talk about it for a minute. Let's think about what that looks like. He literally had the faith to step out over the boat onto water because God called him out. What's God calling you out to do? What's God calling you out to do? The other disciples were probably just like me because I'm not about that life. I'm not trying to do that. So the other disciples probably with their life jackets on like, you got this, bro. I'm cheering you on from here. Right? I'm not jumping over the side. I'm not walking on over the side of the boat, but that's because legacy is an act of faith, and legacy is risky. It's trusting God to do what only He can do with what you have. You can't play it safe. You cannot play it safe and have a lasting impact. So what's your boat? What's your boat today? Is your boat a fear of failure? Is your boat comfort? Is your boat a secure plan, but it doesn't involve God? What is your boat? What do you need to step out of in faith and toward your Lord? If you want to leave a legacy, you've got to step out of your boat. Does that mean it's going to be easy? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's one of the hardest things you can do is to trust God and to what He has called us to. He never promised that your life would get easier. Jesus never promised that when you follow Him that your life would get easier. We do believe that following Jesus makes you better at life, and it also, here at Shoreline, we say that not only does it make you better, it doesn't make your life better, but it also makes you better at life. Verse 31 goes on to say that Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. You have so little faith. Why did you doubt me? And again, in this modern context, I know that I've been guilty of this. I read this in such a condemning voice. Like, why do you have such little faith? Why did you doubt me? But that's not what he's saying to us. He's saying, like, I called you out here. I called you. Don't you trust me when I say, step into this next season, step into this school year, step into this place where I'm taking you to? Don't you trust me? Don't you trust me to take you to where I know that your calling and your purpose is? Don't you trust me? So what legacy is he calling you to leave? Hopefully it's not forgetting a kid on a Sunday morning like me. But maybe for you it is taking that next step and joining a team here at Shoreline or signing up for a fall semester group. Maybe your next step is as simple as being on the host team and greeting people with a smile on Sunday mornings. Stepping out of faith and trusting that God knows what He's doing is all He's calling us to. And I want to take it one step further. So that first step is just like, hey, God, what do you have for me? Step out of the boat. What do you have for me? And the second step is to continue to choose that. Each day, in each moment, in each decision, I'm going to leave a legacy. It's not something that we talk about just in hindsight. It's something that we build one decision at a time. And if you're here today, and I've been there, if you're here today and you think, hey man, I'm too far gone. Legacy, you're talking about legacy? You have no idea what I've done in my past, AG. Like, you're over here trying to talk about legacy? I promise you, there's grace for that. You can't change what you've done. You cannot change yesterday. But you can choose to start today. You can choose to build today. And you can choose faith today. So I'm going to bring this home, and we're going to talk about that Moabite widow that we left off earlier with Ruth, right? So Ruth, she ends up marrying Boaz. So they get married, and if you guys don't hear anything else today, or take anything else away, which I hope you take a lot away today, but if you only take one thing, it's this next part right here. Because the last 2 verses in this book of Ruth in the Old Testament of our Bible, which I encourage you this week if you can, it's only 4 chapters long. It'll take you like 25 minutes to read the whole thing. But the last 4 verses, it says in Ruth 4, verse 21, that Salmon was the father of Boaz. Boaz was the father of Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse, and Jesse was the father of David. That's the David that we had a whole series about this summer. That's King David. That is David the giant slayer, the man after God's own heart. And all because one choice by a Moabite widow to build her legacy of faith in our God. David was born. The great grandson of Ruth. And not only that, it gets better, y'all. It gets even better. So check this out. So the next time that Ruth is mentioned in that book that we call the Bible, does anybody know when that is? It is in Matthew chapter 1 in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. So you're telling me that the choice that widow made that day to stay with her mother-in-law, that one little choice led to a legacy where our Savior was born thousands of years later. And because our Savior was born thousands of years later, he called someone to step out of their boat and walk on water. And there's no greater depiction of faith than Peter walking on that water and focusing on the promise of him calling us out. Not the distractions, not the winds and waves, because they're gonna come. But when you focus on that promise of who Jesus is, and you make that next choice, and then you make that next yes, and you step out of your comfort zone, that is where legacy is built. That's where legacy is born, because of faithful, God-honoring choices. Your daily decisions, they ripple into eternity. Every choice that we make, are we gonna do it God's way, or are we gonna do it our way? I've got 3 questions. I want you guys, you get your phones out, take pictures of them. It's in our notes, but I got 3 questions I want you guys to talk about this week as you go home, as you go to brunch, as you do the things you do. Think about these 3 questions. The first one, what do I want to be remembered for? What do I want to be remembered for? Number 2, what small choices? What are the small choices that I'm making daily to reflect that? And number 3, this one's the one. Number 3, where is God asking me to step out of that boat and into what he's promised me? Let's be a church. No, let's be a movement. Let's be a movement from this day forward who build a legacy of faith, who trust him when he says, come, step out of the boat, step out of your comfort zone, step into what I have for you, step into something new, walk down this hallway at school tomorrow and be set apart, and let these people know that you're different because I'm different. I've made you different. I've called you a child of God. Choose to build a legacy that lasts, not for our own name, but for the name above all names, for the kingdom of heaven. I'm gonna pray. Heavenly Father, God, thank you for this day. God, thank you for the opportunity for us to dive into what you have for us. Thank you for the opportunity to learn about leaving legacies. Lord, thank you for your word and how it is so applicable to today's life. Lord, thank you so much that you have come before us. You have gone before us, and you have made us more than overcomers, God, that we are able to step out of our boat and towards you. Lord, help us to build a legacy that lasts. Lord, help us to chew on these questions, Lord, as we go through this week and see ways and make decisions that will ripple into eternity, that we can make decisions that honor you, Lord, that are of you and that are for you, that are from you, because all things are from you and all things are to you, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.